Peace, 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 peace. What's happening with you? What's happening? 1 second, let me get a pen. We're a little early. 1 second, though. Gotta get a pen. Pen for it. Got a pen for the thing. Got a pen for the thing. Got a pen for the thing. Dictionary. There we go. Pen. Pen like that there. Peace, peace, peace. What's happening? What's happening? A little early. And there's the saying I like to say to my son sometimes. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. So always be early. Always be great. What's happening? We're going to give it a couple of minutes. Let folks come in. I'm going to share this out one time. Then we're going to get to this chapter. It's a pretty powerful chapter. Book. Yeah, 1 second. Be right back. Where is that book? Where is it? There it is. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go now. Give it away. Give it away. Give it away now. Wanted to grab this book. Yeah, we still got a couple minutes. Because the chapter we are doing today, this is my apologies. Peace, 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 peace. I'm Rama Salam Mel. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. This is the Moorish Koran class. We are doing chapter 13 today from the Quran that Noble Ali brought, which is the Quran, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And it is about the 18 years of Jesus' life between, when he was about 12 and 30, when he was teaching in Europe, India, Africa, Egypt, and India. And today's chapter is chapter 13, titled Life and Works of Jesus in Egypt Among the Gentiles. But before we get to that, let me drop the link in there. That might be helpful for you. That might be helpful. And we just here we're only 1 minute in, so we're gonna give people a second. And I'm feeling good because my music is out. I'm gonna do another live for that later. But while we give folks a second, because we only a minute in, we're gonna listen to a jam. Well, after the ad plays, we don't need to hear all the ad stuff. But it's personally one of my most favorite songs I've ever done. And I think you'll know why in a second. It's called The Sevens.
Yeah. Hey, where my Moors at? Check it out. Now see, a long time ago there was one man. And he came to teach Moors who was being called Negroes and blacks. And you see, it was sort of like this guy, three wise men used to speak about way, way, way back in the day. Three. And he was for love instead of hate. And he stood on 5 principles. It was love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. All right.
disrespect to the sixth God. That's it.
But this man here, he was rolling with them sevens.
He was rolling with them sevens. He was rolling with them. He was rolling with them sevens. Okay. Yeah. He was rolling with them sevens. Okay. He was rolling with them sevens. Okay. Hey, he was rolling with them sevens. Okay.
Yeah, we rolling with the sevens.
Listen close.
Noble Drew Ali was one of the greatest men to come among us. So teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Noble Drew Ali, that was his line. To help us know ourselves, that's why he kind. Yeah, I used to be so angry, spitting flying. But once I seen the light, that is when it changed. Once you know the truth, it change your wise. You can see our people for we are, not the lies. Now I understand why they try and keep us lost. Our ancestors great, man, they really had the sauce. They gave hella knowledge, hella culture to the world. They trying to make us slaves, man, y'all ain't keep it there. Without even knowing, making gold out of dirt. We always showing love, that's probably why it hurt. My people want to chill, my people want serenity. And it seems like you want some more enemies. We all about love, we all about peace. Throw them sevens up when you see us in the streets. Yes, you know we throw them sevens. Hit them with the lamp.
All right. Oh, man. That's called the Sevens. That's on this project. I'll talk about that later. Anyways, let me get the link for you. Bam. We finna get started. Bam. Oops. I probably should have got the actual chapter. Let's get the right chapter. Bam. Boom. Follow along like that there. So we are going to be reading chapter 13. Then we're going to highlight the characters, some locations, keywords, and phrases that we may not know about or, want to highlight or look over a little bit more intensely. And then some questions for us to think about the chapter. So let me read through it real quick. And this is page 21, the Holy Koran, Circle 7, chapter 13. Life and works of Jesus in Egypt among the Gentiles. Jesus with Elihu and Salome in Egypt tells the story of his journeys. Elihu and Salome praise Allah. Jesus goes to the temple in Heliopolis and is received as a pupil. So that first line, just to give you a heads up, that was like a summary of the whole chapter, and then it goes through and breaks it all down. And Jesus came to Egypt land, and all was well. He tarried not upon the coast. He went at once to Zoan, home of Elihu and Salome, who 25 years before had taught his mother in their sacred school. And there was a joy when he met these three. When the last son of Mary saw these sacred groves, he was a babe. And now a man grown strong by buffeting of every kind, a teacher who has stirred the multitudes in many lands. And Jesus told the aged teachers all about his life, about his journeyings in foreign lands, about the meetings with the masters, and his kind receptions by the multitudes. Elihu and Salome heard his story with delight. They lifted up their eyes to heaven and said, Our Father God Allah, let now thy servants go in peace, for we have seen the glory of Allah, and we have talked with him, the messenger of love, and the covenant of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Through him shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, through him Emmanuel. And Jesus stayed in Zoan many days, and then went forth into the city of the sun, that men called Heliopolis, and sought admission to the temple of the sacred brotherhood. The council of the brotherhood convened, and Jesus stood before the Hierophant. And he answered all the questions that were asked with clearness and with power. The Hierophant exclaimed, Rabboni of the rabbinate, why come you here? Your wisdom is the wisdom of the gods. Why seek for wisdom in these halls of men? And Jesus said, in every way of life I would walk, in every hall of learning I would sit. The heights that any man has gained, these I would gain. What any man has suffered, I would meet, that I may know the griefs, the disappointments, and the sore temptations of my brother man, that I may know just how to succor those in need. I pray you, brothers, let me go into your dismal crypts, and I would pass the hardest of your tests. The master said, take then the vow of secret brotherhood. And Jesus took the vow of secret brotherhood. Again the master spoke. He said, the highest heights are gained by those who reach the greatest depths. And you shall reach the greatest depths. The guide then led the way, and in the fountain Jesus bathed. And when he had been clothed in proper garb, he stood again before the Hierophant. So that was it's a short chapter, but boy, it's some things in this chapter. So let's first we go through and highlight the characters. There's a lot of people in this one that's going on. We got Jesus, we got Elihu, Salome. You know we got a lot up in that thing. Mention of Mary, Jesus' mom's dose in that thing. Who speaks of a person named Emmanuel. Interesting. The Council of the Brotherhood. Put that on there. He spoke to the Council of the Brotherhood. Right? There was another one he just spoke about, I think. I thought there was one more. I guess you could. No, we'll say that for the keywords or phrases. But I was thinking about rabbinate, but we'll save that for the other section. Then we have, so that's the characters. Then we have the locations.
I'm just watching to see what you do.
All right, man. You got to sit over there for me, all right? Thank you, buddy.
Oh, Daddy.
All right.
I love you too.
Let me focus, man. Locations, boom. So locations, we're talking about being in Egypt. And it speaks of Zoan, which is the home, or when you could put in parentheses, home of Elihu and Salome. So that's where Elihu and Salome was at. Where else does it speak about? It speaks about going to the temple and the city of the sun. So then he went to Heliopolis, and in parentheses, city of the sun. And also went to the temple there, the temple of Sacred Brotherhood. And then I think that was it on that one. Yeah. Oh, and then you can also put Dismal Crypts. Dismal Crypts. Maybe you want to put that in parentheses because that was inside the temple. So that's the locations. We got the locations, boom. Characters, boom. Keywords and phrases. There's some interesting phrases. Oh, Egypt land. That's what I forgot to put in terms of location. I mean, we know it was in Egypt, but it's also just the reference to Egypt land. You can look that up for reference's sakes. Keywords. I wanted to look up Hierophant, and that's spelled Hierophant. Hierophant, Rabboni. No, can't bam.
No, I'm about to just leave the dictionary.
Just sit down and let me focus, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
The temple.
Shh. Thank you. Excuse me, my son in here studying too. Rabboni, Hierophant, Rabbinate. You could look these. For me, I'm looking these up just because I didn't know what they meant. Emmanuel. I just want to look that up as a reference. Because it says, through him all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, through him Emmanuel. I said, man, that sounds like a very important person. And it's a reference to Jesus, but I'm, want to look up why they call him Emmanuel in that sense. Another word, Succor, Succor. And then, let me see if I think there was one more word that I saw. Shh, Cam, come on, man. You go in the other room for me. Okay? I gotta focus, man. Thank you. I think that's all the words. The covenant of peace. That's what I was thinking about. Jesus was referenced to the messenger of love and the covenant of peace on earth. Just if you don't know what covenant means, this might be good to refresh your memory on that word. But I wanted to look up for you real quick. Hierophant. Cam. Okay. Hierophant. H-I-E, excuse me, not H-E-I. H-I-E. H-I-A-H-I-C-H. Hieroglyphic. Hierophant. A noun, a person, especially a priest in ancient Greece, who interprets sacred mysteries or esoteric principles. The origin of the etymology via late Latin from Greek, hierophantes, from hieros, sacred, plus phanein, a show or reveal. Got you. So a priest in ancient Greece who interprets sacred mysteries or esoteric principles. And so the Council of Brotherhood convened and Jesus stood before the Hierophant. He answered all the questions that were asked with clearness and with power. And then the Hierophant exclaimed, so the one that is, again, the one who interprets sacred mysteries and esoteric principles, this person exclaimed to Jesus, Rabboni of the Rabbinate, why do you come here? Like, why are you here, bruh? Because Jesus answered all the questions the Hierophant asked with clearness and power. So he knew the answers. This is the test to see if you can get accepted into the temple to be a pupil, to learn to be a student. And so Jesus gets to answering the question, and the dude that interprets all the mysteries and the he like, bruh, why are you even here, dog? It says, your wisdom is the wisdom of the gods. Why seek for wisdom in the halls of men? So this wisdom that Jesus got and was kicking to the Hierophant is already on a different level. And the Hierophant knows this. The Hierophant is telling Jesus, like, what you doing here? And Jesus is saying that, no, come on, Cam. And Jesus is saying that he will walk in every hall of learning, and that he would, what any man has suffered, I would meet and know the griefs, the disappointments, and know how to succor. That was the other word, succor. Succor. S-U-C-C-O-R. Not sushi. Secession. succour, assistance and support in times of hardship or distress. Wow. And the etymology of this word, Latin succurre, run to the help of. So, the meaning of it is the assistance and support in times of hardship or distress. And Jesus is saying that he wants to, what any man has suffered that he will meet, that he may know the griefs, the disappointments, and the sore temptations of his brother man, so that he knows just how to help those in the times of hardship and distress. That's why Jesus is going to these temples to learn the wisdom in the halls of men. And he says, and then the master spoke, he said, the highest heights are gained by those who reach the greatest depths, and you shall reach the greatest depths. And that line I just want to highlight real quick. For perspective, especially for any of us that are going through, some really hard times, to understand that the highest the highest of the heights are gained by those that have reached the lowest depths, the greatest depths. So the ones that have been the lowest, been down bad, super bad, those are ones that are understanding, able to reach the highest heights. So, to not feel discouraged or hopeless about the position or situation you may be in. And then questions I had, coming back to this chapter, questions you can ask yourself in this chapter. What are the key messages of this chapter? Does any of this information affect you or play an importance in your life today? How does this chapter teach us to love instead of hate? For me, I think, the example where Jesus is trying to get an understanding of what other people are going through. You know what I mean? Even though his wisdom may be, quote unquote, beyond or, a level above what is being taught in this temple, he wants to be, go down to the dismal crypts. He wants to take the hardest test, be put through it, so that he can understand what people are going through. And I think at the core, that's the principle or understanding of empathy, and being able to relate to someone else and put yourself in their situation. And I think when you're able to do that, you're able to better understand and feel where they're coming from, and understand how you can help them. You know what I mean? Sometimes, our people need this information, but sometimes they don't need you to bang them in the head over and over and over and over and over again that we're not black, we're Moors. When they're just expressing themselves, they don't need you to interrupt them every 17 seconds saying, no, brother, we're Moors, gotta say Moors. Sometimes they don't need that, and you gotta understand and put yourself in their perspective to really feel what they're going through and be able to relate and understand and connect with them. Is there something in this chapter you disagree with? If so, why? What is your disagreement about? And what is it based on? What is your disagreement based on? Does anything in this chapter conflict or go against what you previously thought, knew, or believed? And I wanted to highlight this one and kind of finish up with a little bit of a discussion and tie it all together so beautifully. Does this challenge, any of the beliefs or positions you may have previously held? One of the things that I would see often, out there in the social media and the internets and such is, certain brothers and sisters, certain Moorish people, maybe don't call themselves Moors, but dark-skinned people, who would spread lies and false information about Moorish science, about Noble Drew Ali, about Moors, saying that Moors are against Africa, and Moors don't respect our ancient Egyptian culture, Moors are anti-black, Moors are traitors to the race, things like this. And back then it was frustrating, to hear things like that, because I'm reading this book and it's literally a chapter this titled Life and Works of Jesus in Egypt. So it's like, how can you say it's talking about Egypt? You know what I mean? It's talking about ancient Egypt. But, what I've learned is to have some patience and figure out a way to take moments like that and to take things like that and use them as teaching moments. So rather than just get frustrated and say you're lying and, say you're wrong, just set the clean glass up next to the kind of hazy chemical, put it next to that glass. Put the water right there and let the people decide. And that's why I find this chapter so important. I think you should read it, and I think you should investigate and look up this place called Heliopolis, because you'll see that this book isn't, what I'm reading from isn't just some religious text, that it's a history book, and that it's giving us, true history, about our culture and about our people and our ancestors. I just read that, a little piece of that link. Heliopolis, or in Greek or Egyptian, Onu, or Onu, pillar city, in biblical spelled On, one of the most ancient Egyptian cities and the seat of worship of the sun god. And in this book here, it speaks about Jesus going to the city of the sun. And Jesus stayed in Zoan many days and then went forth into the city of the sun, that men call Heliopolis, and sought admission to the temple of the Sacred Brotherhood. So this is not, I don't want you to take this and when you hear this, you're just thinking, oh, this is just some belief stuff. Oh, he's trying to just get us back into this Jesus stuff. It's not quite that. It's a little bit different. This is science. This book is the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple. So it's not, this is not just about some belief system. This system is a knowledge system. It's in order to help us know ourselves, to know Allah, to know our history, and our lineage, and our, the greatness that our people have done throughout time. And I also want you to look up, I don't want to get too much into it, but actually, yeah, we'll look into it. Emmanuel. I'm just going to look at Emmanuel and Jesus. Oh, boom. Wikipedia. Excuse me. I see Mac was having peace. I'm going to get right back to the Emmanuel. Thank you. I learned at the knee of my elders, I believe in breaking down institutions from the inside out. This applies to my profession as an educator, political affiliations. Moorish science to me is about the need to revolve political, economic, and social justice and power back into the hands of ourselves, preferably through legislation and policies that make human sense. I agree 1,000%. And I think the way that we all can govern ourselves accordingly is because we all can agree on 5 principles to govern ourselves. Love, everybody, peace,
and freedom, and justice.
Yes, as my little man said, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I think we don't need you on the camera. You're not even dressed, young man.
Daddy, this is good enough.
No, thank you. Go sit down.
But I can at least.
Shh. Let me finish, please. Thank you.
Time to close
Cam, thank you. Governing ourselves on the 5 principles. And I think, in essence, that's what more science is helping us get back to, is to be able to put the power back in our hands and govern ourselves accordingly, not only within our own nation, but with other nations around the world. But let me get back to Emmanuel real quick. Just wanted to read this real briefly. Emmanuel, the Hebrew meaning God is with us, is a Hebrew name which appears in the book of Isaiah as a sign that God will protect the house of David. The Gospel of Matthew interprets this as a prophecy of the birth of the Messiah and the fulfillment of Scripture in the person of Jesus. Emmanuel, God, El, is with us. Is one of the symbolic names used by Isaiah alongside a bunch of other stuff. I'm not going to try to read that. But I would say, and also I just want to clarify that I am, not well studied on the Bible. I'm ignorant of a lot of stuff in the Bible. So someone that's more well studied and knows the Bible more thoroughly may have a much better understanding of the reference to Jesus as Emmanuel and could probably cite and show you in the Bible, the verses and, the chapters, like, boom, here he talks about Emmanuel, here, boom, and here how it connects to the Moorish. And I say that to say, this is why we can't talk down on people that are still in the church or talk down on people that believe in Jesus. Just because they may not have the wisdom of the gods doesn't mean that they don't have wisdom that's important to you. And if Jesus in this book is showing you that he was able to humble himself and become a pupil in this temple and learn, then you should be able to humble yourself a little bit and not be so arrogant with the wisdom that you have and talk about, well, there was no J back in those days. Like, relax. We understand that, but just, love. You got to put the love in it. You feel me?
Love instead of hate.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam Bam.
Oh, reduce your pain.
Thanks, Cam Bam. And I wanted to close up because we was talking about Jesus in Egypt and, some brothers and sisters kind of down talking or spreading lies about Moors not respecting or claiming or wanting to have anything to do with Africa or Egypt or Kemet, just to be clear, no disrespect. But I wanted to show you this. You may have seen it before. This is Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. Greek philosophy is stolen Egyptian philosophy. And also, on that note, there was a person when I was looking up Heliopolis and the city On in the biblical reference. I'm gonna read this right here. From the earliest times, On was a center for the worship of the sun god. The walls, now below ground, of the great temple area measure about 540 feet by 1,375 feet. And within these walls were temples of the sun of Atum, Ra, and Hathor. Sacred to the sun was the Bien stone, a small primitive obelisk, a sacred tree, and the crested heron called Phoenix by the Greeks. The bull god Menevis is also worshipped at On, and his sacred pillar, the Iwin, gave the city its name. The priests of Heliopolis were reputed to be the most learned in Egypt. Herodotus 2:3. They studied astronomy, philosophy, and the Greek philosophers Plato and Eudoxus are said to have learned from them. Okay? They studied, the priest of Heliopolis studied astronomy and philosophy, and the Greek philosophers Plato and Eudexus are said to have studied from them. And the priests have been reputed to be the most learned in Egypt. Greek philosophy is stolen Egyptian philosophy. But I wanted to just highlight one particular page in this book that's very important to me. And it is, we'll start actually from page 38. Since the edicts of Theodosius and Justinian abolished both the mysteries of Egypt and the schools of Greek philosophy alike, it shows that the nature of the Egyptian mysteries and Greek philosophy was identical, and that Greek philosophy grew out of the Egyptian mysteries. And continuing on page 39. As mentioned elsewhere, the Egyptian mysteries and the philosophical schools of Greece were closed by the edicts of Theodosius in the 4th century AD. And as a consequence, intellectual darkness spread over Christian Europe and the Greco-Roman world for 10 centuries, during which time knowledge had disappeared. As stated elsewhere, the Greeks showed no creative powers and were unable to improve upon the knowledge which they had received from the Egyptians. During the Persian, Greek, and Roman invasions, large number of Egyptians fled not only to the desert and mountain regions, but also to the adjacent lands in Africa, Arabia, and Asia Minor, where they lived and secretly developed the teachings which belonged to their mystery system. In the 8th century AD, the Moors, i.e. natives of Mauritania and North Africa, invaded Spain and took with them. The Moors took with them. The natives of Mauritania and North Africa, Moors, took with them the Egyptian culture which they had preserved. Knowledge in the ancient days was centralized, i.e. it belonged to a common parent and system, i.e. the wisdom, teaching, or mysteries of Egypt, which the Greeks used to call Sophia. As such, the people of North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptians and became the custodians of Egyptian culture, which they spread through considerable portions of Africa, Asia Minor, and Europe. During the occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed with considerable credit the grandeur of African culture and civilizations. The schools and libraries which they established became famous throughout the medieval world. Science and learning were cultivated and taught. The schools of Cordova, Toledo, Seville, and Saragossa attained such celebrity that they, like their parent Egypt, attracted students from all parts of the Western world. I'll just stop right there. That's Stolen Legacy, George G.M. James, showing and proving the connection between our ancient Egyptian knowledge and wisdom and how it got preserved even throughout the Roman and Greek invasions, and how our ancestors boogied up out of Egypt and slid over to the desert and mountain regions. Where is that, you say? North Africa, Mauritania, Morocco. And the Moors, our ancestors, family, took this knowledge, said, hey, man, we're going to take care of this. Hey, we're going to hold it down. We're going to develop it, right? We're going to get it, beautiful. Boom, the time is right. Bam, 7-Eleven, we back on the scene, baby. What's happening? And then, boom, that is the Renaissance of Europe that they speak about, where the Enlightenment happens all over the world, and all of this knowledge gets going again until 1492. The Moors fall, people get conquered, not only in Europe and North Africa, but all the way over here in North America, South America, and all the islands. And now there's a darkness on the world. Until that time again.
Where the darkness gets darker at 6 o'clock in 2020.
No, how about you stop interrupting, son? Thanks.
I've been drawing everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Until that time, sorry for the interruption. Until that time when Moors get that knowledge, start shining that light again, enlighten the world. I think this time, the knowledge kind of came through hip hop. That's the culture. But we're not going to get into all that right now. This class was about chapter 13, Jesus teaching in Egypt, the life works of Jesus in Egypt. And I just wanted to show you the connection between the Quran, Moors, Jesus, Egypt, bam, stolen legacy. So you don't think it's some sort of, oh, we not appreciation, or we don't respect or accept that ancient sciences. It's not that at all. Moorish science is Kemetic science. Oh.
And science is about STEM.
Cam, you keep on interrupting, man.
Okay.
I know you want to shine, Cam, but it's not your time. You're interrupting class. I need you to go in the room now. Thank you. Love you.
Well, are you about to be done?
In the room. Love you.
Love you too. I'm still about to be in the
In the room. Thank you. My son love the spotlight. What was I at? Study Noble Drew Ali. Yeah, study Noble Drew Ali. Understand that, this Moorish science is Kemetic Egyptian science. Oh, yes. It's all connected. It's all tied in together. You got to understand it, but you got to study. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. It's right here for you. It's right here for you. George G.M. James, page 38, 39. Don't believe me? Hey, look. I didn't make it up. You see that? You see that? Let me see if I can get that. Make sure that, yeah. You see that? Hey, now. I didn't put that in there. I'm just reading the book, sharing the information. Now, you can take it. Leave it alone. That's all I have for this chapter. But I am finna take a quick break real quick. Go holler at my son, talk to him about interrupting in class, because I told him before it started, don't do that, and he still did anyway. But then I'm going to come back on and talk to you guys a little bit about some hip-hop and some things about me. But thank you for tapping in with this class. If you're interested, stay tuned. I'm going to pop back up in, let's say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes with another live. Much love to you. Keep shining. Study Noble Drew Ali. Love, true peace, freedom, and justice. Love instead of hate. That's the key. All right.